Hello and welcome back to another Kanji's Plays video. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day today, and I hope it continues to be a blessed day. Now, with that being said, today we're going to be making a tier list about the Magic and Fairy Tale Re, and really it's going to be a opinion, but at the same time all of this magic is really fantastic, so it's really hard to rank these properly, but I will dive into them in a ton of detail to make sure you guys at least understand what the magic is used for and why I put it where I put it. There are some big things to note whenever I'm ranking these magics. It's going to be ease of use, it's going to be the potential that the magic has, so the skill ceiling, also just the use of each individual move, and how strong the passive is, and how good the passive is for the moves in the kit. Now, it will also be some build potential in there too, and I'll also have to think about that because synergy is one of the biggest things in this game. With that being said, let's get started. Hey guys, this is Kanji from the future, and I want to say I'm sorry for how long this video actually was. It ended up being way longer than I thought it was going to be. Each and every one of these magics was jam-packed of information. I will make sure to have timestamps of each magic that you may want to watch, but I do highly advise that you do at least watch a little bit of each and every magic because these magics all have a lot of value inside of them, and it would be best if you actually knew everything about the magic to begin with for terms of battle strategy and even just to pick what magic you want to main because there might be some magic that surprises you. That being said, remember to like and subscribe and let's continue with the video. Now, we're going to start with Black Magic. And Black Magic, I personally would put in A tier. Now, there's some people that would say it's S because, it's Black Magic. It's really strong, it does a ton of damage. The passive does 5% damage after it procs, just 5% of your health as damage, which is really powerful whenever you're fighting somebody tanky, as that can shave off a pretty good chunk of their HP. Now, it does that every minute, it'll do 5%. If you actually hit the proc, to hit the proc, for most of these, it's going to be you need 4 moves to actually land the proc, which is really good. However, the magic damage is great. The grab is really good. The grab is one of the easiest grabs to hit in my opinion. It's really strong. It gives them into a animation to where you're about to toss them. It's really good for getting your moves off cooldown or maybe getting your parry back. It's got an iframe move that's an AoE iframe. It's really good for just tanking a skill or if you're in any tight situation, you can just pop it, take a little breather. It's really good for things like that. It has a multi-hit, which does high damage. But all in all, the moves are very easy to use. I can see anybody really picking up this magic and being good with it. But the problem with it is it doesn't really have much potential. What you see, what you get, it's just it's just where it's at. There's nothing to say about that. Like it's just you can't really get much better with the magic other than a few tweaks in how you're using it and understanding where to use the moves. Other than that, there's not much you can do with it. But it is really good if your base combat is really strong because the way black magic is it's just a support magic that has some pretty high to decent cooldowns. It can do some damage, but I just don't feel like there's that much utility in it other than the iframe move. And the iframe move's great, don't get me wrong, but it's not enough to carry everything on its back, especially when it's the only move in the game that has no stun whatsoever. So for that, it's going to be an A tier. And the passive, it's fine. It's alright. Damage isn't the biggest thing in the world in this game. Damage is great, don't get me wrong. Of course, damage is great. But there's just some of these skills that can dish out more damage than even the damage passive on this magic because they're just so much utility within their passives. It's way better to have a utility passive than to have a damage passive, and you will see why in the video. Now, next up is Heavenly Body. Now, this might be a little bit biased because I have used it and I have taken it to its full potential. This is my main. I'm the second Wizard Saint. Heavenly Body is amazing. Now, it will not be the top of S tier because there will be things taking its place later on in the video. However, the pure damage potential in the passive is just huge on this magic, and there is so much utility within it. Heavenly Body is great because Heavenly Body does the highest damage on one of its moves. I think on one of its moves, I do roughly 88 damage, I think, on its multi hit, which is crazy. And the multi hit, it's pretty fast too. So like you can land the multi hit and still land M1s, which is really strong. So you can get like a 130 damage combo in if you do it properly. And the TP dash, first of all, it's one of the only moves that the TP dash. It's a really long range skill. It's great for catching enemies that are trying to run out of your combos. If they dash out of your combo, it's really easy to catch them. It's great to catch people off guard. You can use it pretty much anytime you want, but the best time to use it is after somebody dashes. The catching ability in this game is huge because the name of the game is how many M1s you can land, and overall the dash will allow you to land a ton of M1s if used properly. The meteor is also great. It's great to counter if somebody pushes in. You can pop it a lot like Black Magic's iframe, but it doesn't iframe. It has a slight hyper armor. You can stop it before it actually starts, but as soon as the meteor's coming down, it cannot be canceled. It's really strong for that. It's also just good for baiting people because it has such a big delay that you can bait a lot of people with this move. You can do the same thing with the next move, Geolexing. Geolexing is the highest damage projectile in the game. It's got three projectiles, which is really, really powerful, and you can aim each of them individually, so you can adjust your aim as you're moving, which is extremely powerful because if you shoot at somebody that's ahead of you, they decide to dash around you, you can turn around and still hit them with the move and start hitting them into another combo. And all the moves have pretty good stun on them, which is really good for baiting. I love this magic. It's got such high potential. There are so many little things that I cannot talk about in this video, and honestly don't really want to because it's gatekeep. I love Heavenly Body, but just know it is extremely strong. The passive is one of the strongest passives in the game, as it can give you more iframes, and overall it'll give you a ton of speed. If you actually hit all of your Heavenly Body moves, especially if you have Conjure, to make sure that you have M1s that also proc it. Heavenly Body, I believe, I'm 99% sure that each move, instead of 4, like most of them, is going to give you 5 speed. So that is a ton of speed at the beginning. Now, each stack will go off after a certain amount of time. It doesn't actually diminish all the stacks at once. So pretty much whenever you start the fight, as long as you continually hit moves, you're going to have more speed than you did when you started the fight, which is really strong. I've had a build where I had like 80 speed, and at one point I had 130 because of Heavenly Body. It is so absurdly broken if you can land your moves every single time consistently. Now, next up, we have Dark. And I will actually be placing this ahead of Black Magic because of the utility on Dark. Dark has the strongest grab in the game. And the reason why Black Magic is this far up here is because of the grab, and Dark just does a better job of that. Its grab has iframes because it makes you go under the ground. It comes out really quickly, so it's really hard to learn how to parry in PV. It's also weird because the grab itself is very slow. You can actually follow the people. Unlike the other moves on here that they just move in the straight line because of the grab, this one you can actually control and you can like curve however you want to get to the enemy and make them bait. It's super strong. It also has two grab moves. It has two dashes, which is incredibly powerful. So the first one is a grab. The second one is a TP dash like Heavenly Body. So it's able to catch people really easily that are trying to escape. It's got long range. It's got a really high stun. It's just a fantastic move that ragdolls. So strong, so very strong. The dark ball, the ragdoll projectile that block breaks, any block break ragdolling move is going to be extremely powerful. And it does pretty decent damage. All these moves do okay damage. They're not really anything too powerful, but they are all very strong. And I love dark magic. I love seeing it used. It's really annoying to fight, but it's great. The passive on it is it allows you to get, I believe it gives you some more mana and strength and I think it gives you a little iframe thing at the beginning of the proc, so you can actually iframe some moves. It's been a while since I've actually seen it used because people have not just been using it recently against me, so I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. All in all, super strong magic. I love to have it in the game. If I wasn't using Heavenly Body, it would be Shadow or Ice. Cannot lie. Next up, we got Holy. Now, Holy's okay. There's nothing more to say about that. Holy is okay. It is. It has a multi-hit. It's got a grab that up tilts, which is really strong. It has a invisible kind of projectile. It's kind of invisible, so it's pretty OP. It's small range though, and then it's got Holy Roar, which is a insanely fast projectile that block breaks. Now, sorry about that. Now, for offense, it does have pretty good offense capability. It's got some great combos you can do with it. The moves are really hard to learn how to counter unless you've played against Holy a lot. But it really just falls off on the passive, and Shadow's passive isn't that good either, in my opinion, because it gives stats. So, best case, it's giving you maybe like one extra damage. This one gives, I believe, strength, mana, and HP, which is nice, but it's not as good as something like Heavenly Body or something that stuns people. Like some of these magics in the future have really unique passives that are stronger than it. So it really just falls off of the passive, and it's just a damage move. I feel like it doesn't really have too much going for it. It is kind of close to being A tier. I mean, all of these magics are really strong and pretty close to each other, but they just have small things that make them better than each other. And this is just being B rank because there has to be different tiers. But I do think it is one of the lowest out of all the magics that are on this list. There's just not much to say about it. The up tilt's great for combos, but other than that, the moves are just kind of throw out to get damage or if you see a potential to hit it. But I don't see too much you can actually do with Holy. Now Crush is really strong, and I am going to actually put this at the top of a tier because Crush has some really strong synergy, especially if you're using Grappler with all grab moves. Crush, grab moves are already some of the strongest things in the game. Crush is literally all grab moves, and it also has a evasive move, which is like a extended parry. So you pop it, it has like I think a 4 second cooldown, which is really powerful to use. It is so strong. I hate fighting people with it because they just feel like they're untouchable. They always parry everything, and you're always stuck in a grab animation, which is really strong for them to recharge your technique, to recharge their mana, their HP, especially with Second Origin. If Second Origin pops, you get them stuck in a grab combo, you're getting full heals no matter what. It's just so gross for that. The combo potential and the bait potential with this, every single move can combo. Every single move has a bait potential. They've all got pretty decent delays. The animations are all kind of hard to learn how to parry. The passive on this is incredibly strong, though. The passive actually makes 35% of the opponent's strength and mana to diminish, which pretty much makes them way weaker in terms of damage. Their damage is going to go down. You pair that with armor, you're pretty much not going to get hurt at all while the passive is procced and you have armor on. It's got great synergy with armor. The passive is incredibly strong, and that, yeah, no, not much else to say about Crush. Now, Lightning is also incredibly powerful. Now, Lightning, it's either I would say it's pretty on par with Black Magic. Now, Black Lightning is a lot more utility than Black Magic, I would say. Actually, I would put it ahead of Black Magic. It's got really strong moves. It's got a lightning strike, which is really good for baiting the opponent. You can hit them. It's got a good delay. So if you see them use a parry, you pop lightning strike, it's going to hit them. You can use lightning roar, which is a multi-hit like black magic. It does roughly the same damage, I think, of black magic. And then it's also got a TP dash that works a lot like Heavenly Bodies. So it's just a really long range dash. It's great for catching. It's got a great ragdoll. It's really good for landing M1s, really powerful for that. It's got a projectile, which is one of the fastest projectiles in the game that block breaks, does damage. Could be really good for using a ton of techs. You can just hit it the block break. You can M1 combo somebody fully, hit them on the ground, so you can extend their ragdoll to get to them. You can do so much with this magic, and the passive is one of the strongest in the game, as the passive actually procs twice when you land it. It'll proc once, which stuns them. The stun will allow them to still parry, but it does keep them in place, and they cannot M1 you back. So it's really strong for that. It'll proc once, you can hit them with that, and then it'll proc again like a few seconds later, which is really, really strong because no other magic has anything that's quite like that. Now, Sky Sky is going to be at the top of the tier list for the rest of the video. Sky is just so strong. It's got amazing moves for combos. It's got a grab, which is one of the easiest grabs to use in the game. The grab will up tilt somebody into the air. They will fall back down on the ground, having a large frame of ragdoll, which is really good for baiting people. You can do anything you want during that time to try and get the parry out of somebody. It's got a sky drill, which is pretty much an instantaneous projectile. It's really hard to learn how to perfect block and parry. So it's just a great projectile. It does great damage. Overall, it can do like I think it could do up to 20 damage if you have magic potential and uh, a race, a freaking mythic race. Sorry about the stuttering. It's a lot of information at once that I'm having to think about. But it's got a great grab, a great projectile. It's got an up tilt. Up tilts are one of the strongest things in the game because it keeps them in a combo that they can't escape necessarily. They can if they use a dodge tech, but they're stuck in the air and they are stuck in that place. So it works a lot like I would say honestly lightning stun because you can parry and you can get them on the offensive on the defensive, but it's just really hard to do that because you're just in your own playground when you're in the air. It's really powerful for that. And then its fourth move is a utility move. Utility moves are also ridiculously strong in this game. The utility moves heals 5% of your health, if not I'm not mistaken. So the more HP you have, the more it'll heal. And I think the passive does the same exact thing. Whenever it procs, it'll actually give you a regeneration for a certain amount of time. Super powerful. It's got high regen. It's You're going to be able to last a very long time in this fight. If you pair this with something like Prodigy, you're draining somebody's mana while they cannot drain your HP. So you're just outlasting them, and then once you take somebody's mana, it's pretty much just wraps from there. They can't do anything besides parry and M1, and they're just stuck. It's like making somebody a potato. Like it's so powerful to do that with. It's a great stall magic. If you're trying to play the long game on somebody, you win. You just win unless that person can combo you so flawlessly so many times that your HP is just diminished. They really can't touch you other than that. Like you'll get in a combo and you'll just heal it back. The only way to do it is if they combo you so often, so frequently, so consistently that your healings just don't matter. And that's the only way to really beat Sky, so it's incredibly powerful. Next up is Water. Water is going to be at the top of A list. Water is really powerful. Its moves are all pretty good, but where it really shines is the passive. It is one of the strongest passives in the game because it shuts somebody's magic down for I think 20 to 30 seconds. I don't remember exactly. It is super strong for throwing somebody's tempo off. I feel like as soon as you land that magic proc from then on, they're just fumbling. They just don't know what to do. They're scattered. They just got pieced up for the last 30 seconds. They don't know how to bounce back from that. And the water has one of the highest stun moves in the game. It's like water prison or like water ball, something like that. It's really strong. It just places a big sphere in front of you of water. It traps somebody in it Obviously, you could see how that could be really good for baiting or just overall stun. You've got Water Jigsaw, which is just a high speed dash grab. It hits somebody. I believe it knocks them back. Just good ragdoll move. Ragdoll dash. Ragdoll dashes are really good for baiting. They can be good for multiple things. Strong dash move. Projectile, it's a lot like Shadows. It's just a block break ragdoll move that's a projectile, does decent damage. All the moves on this kit do some pretty decent damage. It's not really a low damage magic. All in all, great magic, passive, incredibly powerful if used properly, especially considering that you get water body too, which essentially makes you just iframes. As long as they do not parry you, you cannot be hit at all. It's just a straight up iframe utility mode. Super powerful for being aggressive. You just feel like you're always on the offensive with this magic, and being always on offense is a huge amount of pressure that just breaks down your opponent's morality, and it's just so powerful. All right, and the next magic is fire. I love fire. I do. I've used it. It's one of my favorite things to use. But like I said, just because it is low on the tier list doesn't mean it can't be used. It is a really strong magic if used properly. It's got high damage. The difference between the passive of black magic and fire is fire can actually do more damage than black magic's passive, but you have to proc it twice on fire because you can actually proc a passive once every 30 seconds with fire, which is really powerful because that means you can get 3.5% of their health damage gone. And also, I don't think I mentioned this with Black Magic or Fire, but while the proc is going on, your screen is shaking, so it makes it really hard to actually fight while your screen shakes. The fact that that procs twice on Fire is really powerful. Now, so Fire has a really high damage and also utility on its passive, which is something you don't really see on any of these magics. It's just really strong for that. And Fire, it just overall does good damage. It's got burn. It's got a grab that works like um, water jigsaw. It's just a quick dash that knocks somebody back. It does a ragdoll. Fire projectile, just like shadows. It just block breaks and knocks them back. It does some good damage. It's got a multi-hit. Multi-hits are the strongest damage moves in the game. So having a multi-hit automatically makes it pretty decent. But it's just there is a lot you can do with this magic. I just feel like picking it up is a lot harder than a lot of these other magics to use. But I think the amount of damage the passive can do, the utility of the passive and the moves, it's all great, but it just doesn't add up to some of the things that can stun, the thing that just takes away your damage, the thing that makes your magic completely go away. It's just there's so much competition on this magic that there's just simply nothing that can be done about it. All right, next up we have ice. Ice is going to be in the middle of sky and heavenly body. Ice has a really the reason why ice is up here is because the passive is the strongest passive in the game. No doubt in my mind, it is the strongest passive in the game. And the reason is if you have any sort of high damage build, if you proc ice once or twice in the fight, if you proc it once, you can get a solid like 150 damage just off of it because it stuns them. They cannot parry and they are forced to take a full M1 combo, which is so stupidly strong for a passive. It is so strong. And you can proc it once, maybe twice in a fight. I believe the cooldown is like 3.5 minutes. So it is a long cooldown, but deservedly so because it does actually determine the fight, depending on how many times you can proc it. And the ice moves, it's got a projectile, one of the highest damage projectiles in the game, as it shoots out to. Not only does it shoot out to, Heavenly Body's projectile doesn't block break, which is a big downfall for it, but it has high damage and high accuracy rate. But Heavenly Body, or sorry, not Heavenly, but Ice's is a really easy move to hit. It block breaks. It's got two projectiles. It does really high damage. It's got an ice hammer, which is a lot like meteor. It's a good way to counter somebody. It can throw somebody off guard. You can use it to bait somebody. It does really high damage as well. It does just as much as the projectile. I think 28 with both of those. It's really strong. The grab move is also really strong. Keep in mind, all of these moves have insanely high stun. It's the highest stun in the game. The ice grab has a really high stun as well. So all of these moves are phenomenal for getting some baits in, as they just cannot move from the place that they are in. They are forced to either parry or take a hit. So it's really strong. All in all, this magic is phenomenal. It is one of my favorite magics in this game. I would say it is top 3, if not top 2. I just love this magic. Now, we got the only C tier in the game. There will not be any D tiers in this game, I think. You never know, but all of these magics are really strong and somewhat close to each other. They can all be used to a very high skill ceiling. You can honestly, with any of these magics, you can get to Wizard Saint level. No doubt in my mind, you can be a Wizard Saint with any magic. Just when you're choosing magic, choose magic for what the magic is, how it feels with you. Pick the moves that feel good when you use them, that you really enjoy, you have fun with, because every magic in this game has high potential. Every magic in this game can be just as good as the last. It just all comes down to how high of a skill you are willing to take it and how much work you put in that PvP queues. Magicless, let's get into it. It's strong. Its passive is really good if you're going a strength build because you don't actually have to run mana to use the moves. All the other magics, you need 20 mana to use all of your moves. This magic, you don't. You don't need 20 mana. You need 0. It's fine. It has a utility move that gives it extra speed, which is really useful. It can put a lot of aggressiveness onto the field that you are playing, and it's really strong to use. I've been against it with Dan, currently Kiragashi, the fourth Wizard Saint. He's really strong with it, and there's just so much pressure with this magic. It's got a grab move that's like it puts you inside of an animation of just literally getting boxed up with the Dempsey roll from Ippo. It's got pretty good dash move. It's really fast. It's hard to parry in PB, but it can be parried in PB if you play against it enough. But it's just like it's a nice little stun move for dashes. It's got a uh, it's got a slam, which is really strong for baiting. Actually, really, really powerful for baiting, especially if you up tilt somebody into a slam. It's so nasty. I cannot tell you the amount of times I fall for it. I fall for it like 90% of the time when it's just something about that move. I don't know what exactly it is, but it is super strong. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Magicless. There's not much else to say about it. It's decent. It's in C tier. The passive is good, but it's not really going to change anything on the opponent's side besides giving you maybe a bit of like 1 or 2 extra M1 damage. So it's not insane, but it's definitely good. All of these magics can be used. Once again, just keep that in mind. I promise you they all can be used, so if there's anything you want to use, do not be afraid to use it. Just because somebody else at the highest tier is using a magic doesn't mean you need to use that magic. That's just because that's the magic we feel the most comfortable with and we see the most potential in. All of these magics can change in the future. A lot of these haven't had a good showcase on how good they can actually be. So some of these are just lower because I haven't seen them used in the fullest of their potential. Fire, I think I have seen used fairly high up because of Dan Dan. I would say Fire can honestly rotate to any of S, A, or B tier, just depending on who's using it. But I think for the average player, it's going to be in B tier. That's why it's there. But all of these magics can be changed depending on who's using them. But in my opinion, on the flat out, if somebody is the same skill level on each of these magics, it's gonna look somewhat like this. But that'll be it for today's video. I hope you guys had a wonderful day, and I hope that you guys continue to watch this series as I'm going to be making a lot of Fairy Tail Read videos. I plan on making videos on things like Holy X War and RLCs as they come out. I will be making videos on some more popular anime games and just really getting a feel of what it's like to be a content creator. I hope you stick with me as I am learning how to do this in a manner that is fun for everybody and is very informative on videos like this. Moving forward, it's going to be just more fun videos. I just wanted to get away all of the guides, all the magics, as these are really essential for the game to have right now. The game, I just feel like, didn't really have any good guides or any tier list whatsoever for any magic, so I thought this was pretty important to get out now. So, that being said, God bless you all, and have a fantastic day.